Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got an absolutely incredible story of corporate survival, vision, and the kind of long-term thinking that honestly completely redefines an entire industry. We're looking at one of the most recognizable companies on the planet, but we're taking a trip back to a time when its very existence was hanging by a thread. Understanding this survival story, it completely changes how you view every single purchase you make today. I am so excited to walk you through this journey.
Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly did a money-losing bookstore survive the biggest financial crisis in internet history? Pause and think about that for a second. Today, they're delivering groceries and electronics to your door in, a matter of hours? But back then, they were literally just shipping paperbacks out of a garage and bleeding cash while doing it. It sounds like the setup for a complete business disaster movie. But the answer lies in this fascinating combination of rapid expansion, terrifying risks, and just unyielding strategy. It is absolutely a masterclass in staying focused when everything around you is falling apart.
Section 1. Beyond Books, Rapid Growth. So as the early internet really started gaining traction, Jeff Bezos knew that selling books alone simply would not be enough to build the retail empire he envisioned. They aggressively expanded into entirely new product categories. We're talking music, movies, electronics. And you might be wondering, why these specific items? Well, because just like books, CDs and DVDs are highly standardized products. They're incredibly easy to pack, relatively cheap to ship, and in super high demand. The market responded instantly. Customers absolutely loved the convenience of shopping from home without having to navigate crowded malls, and sales increased at a truly blistering pace. Section 2. The profit problem. And this brilliantly illustrates a fundamental tension that really defined this era. On one hand, you had rapid sales and immense customer love, right? People were flocking to the site in droves. But on the other hand, you had huge spending and increasingly nervous investors. This dynamic was driven by a famous strategy they called Get Big Fast. To capture market share before competitors could even catch their breath, the company was pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into massive, state-of-the-art distribution centers and sprawling server infrastructures. These physical assets required monumental upfront capital, but yielded exactly zero immediate profit. Because of this massive cash burn, critics were incredibly loud, claiming the company would never actually become a sustainable business. Section 3. The dot-com crash. In the early 2000s, this crash didn't just shake the technology industry to its core. Actually, scratch that. It completely decimated it. The sheer scale of the devastation is just staggering. Hundreds of internet companies, many of which had been valued at billions of dollars just months prior, collapsed virtually overnight. Billions upon billions of dollars simply evaporated from the stock market. To put that into perspective, the tech-heavy NASDAQ index lost over 75% of its total value. The euphoria of the dot-com bubble had violently burst, and it was replaced by pure, highly contagious market panic. Now, the retail giant was definitely not immune to this panic. In fact, they were hit incredibly hard. Their stock price plummeted dramatically as investors lost confidence by the day. People were basically rushing for the exits because the fundamental metrics of the stock market had seemingly shifted overnight. For years, the market rewarded internet companies simply for getting eyeballs on their websites. It was all about traffic. But suddenly, investors woke up and realized that eyeballs do not equal actual cash flow. They wanted real, tangible profits immediately. And at that moment, the companies simply didn't have them to show. Would Amazon go bankrupt? At the time, this wasn't just some sensational headline meant to sell newspapers. It was a very real, looming possibility. Many leading financial experts and Wall Street analysts confidently predicted the company's absolute doom. They looked at the massive ongoing infrastructure spending, the severe lack of immediate profits, and the completely collapsing market around them, and they concluded, you know what? The story is over. Section 4. The long-term strategy. Let's move to and see how this builds. While the rest of the market was literally running for the exits, leadership took a highly structured, remarkably calm approach. The response came down to 3 steps: refuse to panic, systematically improve operations, and relentlessly improve the customer experience. But how did they actually execute that when cash was so incredibly tight? Well, instead of radically changing the business model to chase short-term cash, they refined their internal operations to an obsessive degree. They rewrote their fulfillment center algorithms to pack boxes just fractions of a second faster. And incredibly, right in the middle of this massive financial crisis, they actually slashed shipping prices to drive up sales volume, even though they knew it would hurt their margins in the short term. Crazy, right? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Jeff Bezos' firm belief that long-term success is fundamentally more important than short-term profits. Think about how extraordinarily difficult that is in practice.
Imagine having the entire machinery of Wall Street screaming at you to cut costs, stop expanding, and show a profit today, or else they will completely destroy your company's valuation. It takes immense discipline to tune that out. Yet he held the line. That unwavering belief was the ultimate anchor that guided them through the darkness when everyone else was demanding immediate returns.
Section 5. Surviving and looking forward.
So they didn't just survive one of the biggest financial crises in internet history. They used it as a crucible to get remarkably stronger. While countless competitors just disappeared into the void, they maintained ongoing, heavy investments in innovation, logistics, and customer satisfaction. And when we talk about logistics here, we aren't just talking about buying a few more delivery trucks. No way. They were actively building a vast proprietary network of data-driven fulfillment centers that competitors simply couldn't match. Every single challenge they faced forced them to build an unassailable moat around their business.
So the crucial point is that the entire strategy was profoundly simple at its core. Focus on customers first, and profits would follow later. To really grasp how deeply this was ingrained, look at how they handle book reviews. They controversially allowed customers to post negative reviews directly on the product pages. Traditional book publishers were absolutely terrified and furious. Like, why on earth would a retailer let people publicly trash a product they're trying to sell? But leadership knew that allowing honest, negative reviews built immense, long-lasting customer trust. It proved that putting the customer first wasn't just a catchy PR slogan. It was a highly tactical, long-term business advantage.
This uncompromising mindset saved the company, for sure, but it was also doing something else. It was quietly preparing them to achieve something truly extraordinary. Which leads us to a massive question to end on. What major breakthrough would soon change online shopping forever? The stage was set, the massive physical infrastructure had been tested by fire, and they were about to unleash an innovation that would forever alter how we buy almost everything. But you'll have to stick around to find out what that is. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this critical moment in business history. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you on the next explainer.